Welcome to Keep Painting Those Miniatures. Today I am painting the Warmachine Tactics Kickstarter bonus model, Lieutenant Allison Jakes. I received this model from a friend to add to my Cygnar army. He received it as part of the Tactics Kickstarter. And it's now a valid model. Not much to say apart from that. I was really scared when I started this model. She was a tiny model, and I got all kind of worked up about it due to my allergic reaction to Infinity style models. And this, yes, again, felt very much like Infinity. As I've done with all other Cygnar models in my set, I've made a custom base. Again, cobblestones, and I did follow the same procedure. So wall filler with lines carved into it, then sanded back, primed black with Vallejo Primer Black, then 3 successive dry brushes. First grey, Vallejo Game Color Somber Grey, then grey again, Reaper Concrete Grey, and finally a dry brush of white P3 Menoth White Highlight. I primed Allison Jakes with Vallejo Primer White. Looking at the model, there was a lot of leather. I ended up using P3 Bloodstone in order to block it all in, and I think that works pretty well as a dark brown. I then followed up by trying to pick out most of the metal sections of the model, that's be the silver ones, with Army Painter Gunmetal. Now for all the blue sections of the model, because well, she is Cygnar, I went with P3 Cygnar Base Blue. For her skin, I went with Reaper Caucasian Flesh. For her hair, I went with P3 Murderous Magenta. At this stage, I realized the model looked terrible. I painted lots of bits, and yes, it wasn't working well together. I decided to sort of not double down, but just step through it piece by piece and try and improve the general look of the model. When you screw up painting, it can be difficult to work out exactly what to do correct what you're doing. Some people strip them. I've done that in the past, especially with metal models. It's a great idea. You can strip them and go back to the start. But I didn't feel I'd reached quite that point. I did feel I'd screwed up pretty successfully though. So what I did is I slowly kept iterating over the model to try and bring it to a sort of a good point where I didn't hate it. Now, you'll see that throughout the rest of the video. Basically, I keep going over each part of the model, trying to neaten up the lines, trying to get it. The white, blue, brown combination is not good. It is not a very nice combination, and I'm going to have to figure out a way to do that painting in the future, because a lot of my jacks have that white-blue combo, and it's just, you know, white over blue, white over anything really, is not really successful. Other problems sort of lie in the fact that because it is small and fiddly, and honestly, I'm blind as bat. I couldn't see where a lot of it was, and I sort of, once I got different colored paints on it, it started to make more sense, then I had cleanups. So I really recommend knowing, well, having better eyesight probably is a lot better, but knowing what you're intending to do before you do it. And I was rushing this model. I rushed it because I wanted to play with it, and that's a bad position to be in. As part of that process, I assembled the model and put it on its base. When the model is floating around, especially if you pin it like I do, it sometimes loses context, and it's hard to actually get an idea of what it's going to look like at the end. It can be very annoying and very painstaking as well, because you see all the stuff that other people won't see when they look at it from sort of a top-down angle, and you see other things that, well, you screwed up because you're not looking at it from a top-down angle. I made a few more changes to her clothing. I gave her sort of like a white, I'm not going to say a V, but I'm going to say a white stripe in the middle of her chest. Everybody referred to it as the boob stripe, I think, when they saw it. but essentially I just sort of highlighted that. That was primarily to bring a little bit of white down her torso and just sort of make the model not look like a blue blob. Other things I tried to do was sort of pick out the metal on the belt buckles on her legs, and I tried to differentiate the colors of the belts, because she's got sort of leather pants and then she's got like leather belts over the top of them. Now, if you're a better painter, you can paint them 2 different colors. I'm not that good, so I just tried to differentiate by sort of not dry brushing, but sort of lightly coloring up the belts, and that hopefully made a difference. I absolutely hated the shoulder pads. Now, you can see them sort of in other people's photos and they look wonderful, great for them. Didn't work for me. The white and blue again, big problems. Making smooth lines, transitions between those two, big problems. Difficult, hard, not easy. Especially if you're blind like me. I tried basically just sort of iterating. Again, I use iterating a lot. Going over and over the spots to try and get them neat. I don't think I succeeded, but I knew I was going to ink later, and I was hoping that that would hide my screw-ups, and again, that's why I ink. So, yeah. Here I am inking the model. Now, metal plus ink equals instant shade, and it looks great. White plus ink doesn't. White plus ink looks like, well, my kids' school tops. They roll around in the dirt and it looks terrible. But, this is a little bit of a but here. If you do that and then re-highlight with white, it ends up looking a lot better, because you get some of the shade and you get some of the ink, and it doesn't look stupid. Well, in my impression. Other people, whatever. So yeah, I used Army Painter ink dark tone on the white and the metal sections of her, as well as on her legs. I was looking at soft tone for it because it's more of a brown, cheese brown, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, I also used the dark tone on her face. Now this turned out to be a poor decision. Her features looked horrible with just inking them. Normally I do that and it works pretty well, not in this case. For the blue sections of the model, I used Army Painter ink blue tone. This is to create shade and hopefully get into the crevices between the different sections of metal plate that I paint blue. Now, the intention is to highlight after that with, the lighter Cygnar highlight, I think it's called. But I don't usually get that far with the smaller models, because essentially I just sort of stab at it with my paintbrush and it goes to hell. So, look, ink's good. Blue ink doesn't work on white paint. It makes it look blue. It makes it look horrible. So you need to do another coat of white, and then it makes you want to cry. I used some Army Painter ink red on her hair. I wanted it to get a bit brighter. It didn't work so good, so I ended up just actually putting a little bit of Reaper Brilliant Red on it, just to brighten it up even more, because I wanted the hair to be a sharp contrast to the rest of her clothing, because she's red-headed. I mean, in her artwork, she's red-headed. Like, she differentiates herself based upon that alone. Like Maddox, I don't know what Maddox is. Maddox is blue. Maddox is a blue thing with a sword. She looks very much like the Sword Knights. But Jakes is meant to look different, and that's the idea. Here you can see me going over and over the white and the blue and trying to get everything neatened. It is, it is time consuming, and it's very frustrating because I don't have enough time to paint a lot of the time. I know no one does, but it's, yeah, especially when you want to play with the damn things. And over a personal rule, you don't play with unpainted models. They look crap. I painted her front arc with P3 Cygnar blue highlight, like other models in my set. It's a good looking colour for the arc. I like it. After all the final touch-ups, I felt like I'd reached a point where she didn't look terrible. Now, as I've mentioned in the past, when you don't hate it, stop. Because you're just going to keep on painting till you do hate it, and then you're going to wish you stopped ages ago. So, listen. Stop when you don't hate it. While I'm not over the moon at the model, the paint job, or anything else I did in this one, I do think it could have turned out a heap worse than it did. So, yeah. Not throwing this one at the wall. And keep painting those miniatures, people.